and welcome to The Actor and the Engineer. My name is Paul James. I am the actor.
And my name is Josh Knapp. I'm the broadcast engineer.
Yay. Yorgos Lanthimos making sense. Yay.
Okay, no.
Oh, no.
Nope.
Oh, no. Well,
Nope.
Introduce what we're talking about first.
We're talking about Yorgos Lanthimos' next movie, which he's like churning them out, like hotcakes. It's called Bugonia. Spelled differently than Bugonia, which is the plant, but I did a little bit of research on that. It's a Greek myth that he's referencing, or that the title is referencing. But this is Yorgos Lanthimos, this is Emma Stone, this is Jesse Plemons, all three of which were together in Kinds of Kindness, and it's like, the fourth time that Lanthimos has worked with Emma Stone, so... I mean, I was really excited to see this movie. In fact, I saw this movie at a special screening Sunday, a week and a half before it came out. So it was pretty neat, and it was a Q&A. And so when we decided we wanted to do this podcast, I was like, you know what? I'm going to watch it again, because I came out of that movie sad, just sad and confused, not as to the movie, but confused as to what, we talk about this a lot, as to what the filmmakers wanted me to get from the movie. Because I can get something from the movie. I can get something from any movie, but I'm also interested in what the filmmakers, film inherently is a persuasive medium, can be a persuasive medium. Documentaries are persuasive mediums, especially, but even narrative film can be a persuasive medium. And the subjects that this movie takes on, it lends itself to persuasion of the audience. So I'm wondering what's the point? So those are my issues with it. The performances were amazing. The writing was solid. What was the point? So tell me, please.
You could take exactly what you just said and say that about Kinds of Kindness for me.
That's true.
There were so many things going on in that film, so many things exaggerated, so many performances that were over the top, all of which I think worked, but I don't know what he wanted from us to understand from that film. Yeah. There's too many themes in that movie. There's too many ideas in that movie. At least I'm not saying there's too many ideas in the movie, too many ideas for my brain to calculate, okay, how am I feeling? What am I thinking? What is it making me feel? Okay, just feel something. Okay, I'm feeling that. I'm feeling this. But what's that got to do with this? What's that got to do with that? What's the narrative about? And why is she going after Margaret Qualley? What? So this Bugonia, which is not an easy thing to say for me, by the way, that G and that O, not friends of Paul. But as I was driving to the movie theater, I saw it about a week ago, and I almost saw it again, but I didn't have time. When I was driving to the movie theater, I was like, okay, I need something more concise, a little bit more precision in the scalpel of what Yorgos Lanthimos is trying to say to us. And he's done it before. And the subject matter is always a little bit left of center in his films, which I'm fine with. I don't have a problem with that. And his thumbprint and his sensibility is always just a little bit,
When you say left of center, do you mean like odd or off, or do you mean like left of center politically? Because I think you mean odd and off, right?
Odd and off. Yeah. But I don't like to say odd and off, because that sounds like a criticism, and I think that's a cheap shot. Because odd and a little bit off is good.
Sure, of course. That's why I love his movies.
If you don't fall in love in this period of time, you become a lobster. What? Yeah. It's like, that's left of center. That's what I mean by that. Not politically. I just now realized when you asked me that, how that sounds. But no, usually if it's not overtly a political thing, because I think everything is politics and everything is political, but normally it's not something we really talk about, something we really delve into, unless it's specifically about that, or it specifically affected us in a certain way to where it pushes our political buttons. And there's enough talk. There's enough people talking about what's going on nowadays. So yes, odd and a little uneven and a little strange in the best way. But I was like, okay, he needs to bring it back down for me. He needs to make the narrative a little bit simpler and just concise. I don't mind 1,000 themes. I don't mind odd performances, but I need something a little bit honed in to where I have less time to think about what was that and why is this affecting me this way, and just allowing it to affect me, which is what this movie did for me. So I don't know how to explain anything that you have questions about other than it affected me. And I saw what he was trying to say. I felt what they were trying to say. I think if the movie had turned out to be opposite of what they actually turned it into, I would have been disappointed, because I would say about 30 minutes into the film, I was like, okay, this can only have one ending for me in order for it to work. So I think the themes of what are we doing to the planet? Obvious. The themes of what are we doing to people who have special needs and people who have special ways of thinking, borderlining mental health issues, or are they just smarter than everybody else and we're not listening to them, or we're not listening to our special needs friends, or we're not listening to our people who are just a little bit mentally different than we are? Why are we not? And the more they tried to make Jesse Plemons crazy, the more I was like, wait a second. I think this is an indication that we're going down a route that he might end up being more right than wrong. And spoilers from this point on, because I can't even deal with that right now, because I'm afraid I'm going to say anything. I'm going to say something. So did I extract from it? Yes, I did. Did I understand exactly what he was trying to say? Maybe not, but I took more from this film than I took from Kinds of Kindness. I just did. So I don't know if that answers your question. I don't know if you want to bring it in more specifically.
Yeah, I think that there's obviously a certain amount of cynicism associated with his last few films. I mean, Poor Things does bring, the main character, Emma Stone's main character, I mean, is someone who is developing in real time, even though her body is an adult body, she's developing as a child society, but then being treated like they shouldn't be out of place. I mean, so it's not something that Yorgos Lanthimos has not delved into before, but I think that in this movie, there are scenes that are played for humor that it's hard for me to know, what am I supposed to laugh about? Why are people laughing? Are they laughing because it's awkward? I don't have a problem with people laughing because it's awkward, but are we supposed to be judging, or are we supposed to be being sympathetic? And if so, then why is it done in a way that is framed as humorous? So like I don't necessarily want a tearjerker movie just because someone who's autistic is in the movie. I think the Farrelly brothers did a great job earlier in their careers with incorporating characters in the films that had different features that were embraced in the films. Those were embraced. So in this film, we have someone in Adrian Delbus who is autistic and has a great performance.
Stunning.
First performance.
Like, yeah,
I don't know how you do that.
He could get an Oscar nomination. He's that good.
Yeah,
and people
I don't know
said,
how you
really? And I was like, what didn't you understand that he did? How did you not feel what he was saying? Every single thing he did was precise and to the point of what the character would do. And I think that's hard to do. So I believe he'll probably get some critic nominations, awards, and stuff like that. And he's a standout. Anyway, go ahead, finish what you were saying.
But so we've got Adrian Delbus playing a character who is autistic and a character who's been kind of like pushed aside by society, and so has his cousin Jesse Plemons, and his cousin is the caretaker of Adrian Delbus's character, and they've both been pushed aside for multiple reasons due to what happened to his mom and all that stuff, to Jesse Plemons' mom. So I inherently feel sympathy for these characters. Then he starts talking about conspiracy theories and listens to conspiracy theory podcasts while he's riding his bike to work at the whatever the plant is of Emma Stone's character's business. But I don't know like who we're supposed to be rooting for when, and I think that someone, the characters that their impetus for doing what they want to do, like they feel backed into a corner. I feel like we've already said spoilers. I feel like, especially the Jesse Plemons character, is doing something because he feels like it's the only thing that's left to do. And like, there's no other option. That he's trying to save the world. And he ends up in trying to save the world being right about what his theories are. They were conspiracy theories. It's kind of like in our last podcast, we were talking about One Battle After Another. We talked about how Leonardo DiCaprio's character Bob was just paranoid, and it's paranoia until it's justified paranoia.
Right.
Well, in the same way, it's a conspiracy theory. Jesse Plemons is espousing conspiracy theories until it's true, and it turns out it was true, but it didn't even matter. Like, there's no hope in this movie, and that's the part that really, really, it just bums me out.
And that's fair. That's totally fair. See, I thought you were going one direction. Now you're going in another direction that I actually can understand. But I think that's the point. Okay, so let's slow down for just a split second. Can you give me a specific scene where something happens to somebody and the audience laughed and you weren't sure why they were laughing? Is there something specific that we can talk about?
Yeah, when they're doing the calisthenics at the beginning of the film, they're intercutting her working out in the morning and wearing the red light mask and sparring with her sparring partner / gym guy and trainer. There we go. That's the word. Sparring with her trainer. I don't have a trainer. Come on.
I would if I could.
So she's sparring with her trainer, and they're doing planks on the dining room floor, and they're doing the knee ups, and it's just I felt the awkwardness of like I shouldn't be watching this. You know what I mean? I don't think if people were laughing, I don't think they were laughing at him. They're not laughing at Don. They're laughing at Don saying, "You look kind of funny," and then he does it, and he goes, "I bet you I look kind of funny too," because they do look funny doing it, because they're doing exercises that they obviously don't do on a regular basis, because you have muscle memory, and if you were to do that on a regular basis, you wouldn't look so awkward.
You wouldn't look so awkward. So it's the newness of it. And it's everybody's always stop and starting exercising. I'm a big person who does that. I'll be like weeks, and then all of a sudden I won't go days. And then I'll be like, I have to start all over again. So, and there's an awkwardness to it. But I think what that scene in particular is showing us the difference between what it is to have everything and to have a trainer, and what it's like to have a trainer versus somebody who just starts and stops because they have to keep their body functioning, because now they have this direct idea of kidnapping this person. You don't know it at that particular time. You really don't know it until they're in the bushes, which I think is clever. If I had seen the trailer, I wouldn't know anything about it. So I wouldn't even know what they were trying to do when they buy the masks and they go and they're hiding behind the things.
Jennifer Aniston masks.
That's hilarious. That's hilarious. It's classic. So what it's showing is the contradiction between the have and the have-nots, and what it's like to actually have a nutritionist and a functioning life, because people come and help you train. I'm not saying that that's a reason to not work out, and that's not a reason to not train yourself and stuff like that, but it's actually the difference between somebody who's completely focused on something, 4:30 in the morning, wake up, and then has this morning routine before she even walks out the door, has her first cup of coffee, which makes no sense to me, because I need some coffee first, and I don't care what anybody says. I need a cup of coffee. Anyway, so it's the difference between having focused to a point where you've become something in this world, or you've achieved something in this world. So those things are less awkward to you, because I'm sure the first time she ever fought somebody in that training, she looked awkward. So I just think it's showing you the contradiction between the two worlds, and it also is showing how you think he doesn't have the plan that is ultimately revealed that he has. He has a whole nother area in that house that we know nothing about until later on in the film, which means he is much more focused than we'll have allowed ourselves to believe. And if he was so focused on this and so focused on doing this, that should have been part of their morning routine from the get-go. So what was he doing from the time what we know is down in that room to this time now? Why is he still fumbling? Why is he not more focused? Why is he, it shows the difference between the two characters and how much Emma Stone's character, as much as it is that she has to get up at 4:30 in the morning and she has to do this and she has to wait to have the cup of coffee and she has to wait to do all this stuff. She has to have the willpower to get up and do that. It shows the difference that once you do become accomplished and you do have things because you have been accomplished and you are making money, that it is just that much easier to focus because you have things at your hands that Jesse Plemons and Don do not have. So I think it's simple. And I think that if anybody, I don't think anybody in the audience, I can't speak for everybody, but for me, I didn't get the sense that anybody was making fun of them as people. They weren't making fun of Don because he has special needs. He's actually the smartest guy in the room for the majority of the film. He actually makes way more sense most of the time than Jesse Plemons. So you don't get a lot of backstory of how they got together or what happened. And you don't get the backstory of why Don doesn't really know what's going on so far, because Don is just brought into this plot to kidnap Michelle, Emma Stone's character. Mm-hmm. So I think it's just an awkward thing that human beings do. It's like when you first do a plank. Have you ever tried? Well, of course you've tried. I'm sure you're a master at it. I mean, it's your whole body starts to shake. Yeah. It's really embarrassing and you have no control over it. And they're just 5 more seconds and you're like, what? How long's it been? 2 seconds. You're like, what? So I think people are laughing at the awkwardness of just being a human being trying to be a better person. I don't think they're making fun of.
I hope so.
Why'd you get the sense that people were making fun of him?
I got the sense that it was like, look at these idiots, you know, and that's but because that's what it's set up for. I mean, I think it's set up that way, and it's like you're juxtaposing someone who has all of these things, and then these guys who, you know, are trying to make ends meet, but then, you know, they're kind of like faking getting ready for something. Yeah. You know, they're faking this training regimen, and she's actually doing it. And that was kind of what I got for that. And usually when that, in movies that I've seen in the past, when that happens, you know, it's done to kind of, like, look at these idiots. You know, it's the football team who can't, you know, pick up the ball and you know, falls all over themselves and, like, you know, somebody ties their shoes together and they trip. And, you know, it's that.
Yeah, but it's not set up to make fun of him. It's set up to make you realize, or to make you think, he is not well, that he's mentally incapacitated to the point where he believes the earth is flat, by the way, and that there's this conspiracy theory stuff, which is brilliant, by the way,
or that he's gone down these rabbit holes, of these rabbit holes, which people have gone down, and they live in these communities. By the fact that he's dedicated his life to this, and he's gone down all these rabbit holes, you know, I'm kind of like an Occam's razor type guy. It's like the simplest answer is probably the one that, you know, that is the answer. And you get to a certain point where sometimes it's not true, but more often than not, it is true. You know, it's that kind of a thing. But I'm not trying to say that this movie's a bait and switch, but I think that it's kind of like a push and pull of the audience, which I don't have a problem with, but it's a push and pull of the audience that is malicious. And, like, there's other movies that do that. You know, Funny Games does that. Michael Haneke's film does that. But it really doesn't do it until the end. It's to me, like, that movie is more of like it is like an indictment on the audience, but I think this movie is not necessarily an indictment on the audience. It's just kind of like a slap around of the audience. To me, it's like, oh, well, you know, you know, we're setting you up to think that this guy is crazy, you know, doesn't know what the heck he's talking about, but he does, because it's real, but it doesn't matter. I don't know.
Exactly what the film's saying.
I know.
It's exactly what it's saying. And in a way, it's
be careful in real
what you
life,
wish for, because people are telling us over and over and over again. This is way more pointed than Don't Look Up was, when I was like, I don't even know what they're talking about. And you're like, oh, it's about this. And I was like, it is? I was like, okay. And now that you said that, Mother, by the way, I've seen a lot of Jennifer Lawrence recently. I love her. Don't get me wrong, but there was a
she's
thing
doing Miss Piggy with
that's
with Emma Stone.
Amazing. And what's his name? Cole Escada from
I don't know that guy.
from Oh Mary, Broadway he just won the Tony. Yeah.
Cool.
Yeah. Anyway, so wait. Oh, Don't Look Up. And Mother. So I just saw a review of her latest film with Robert Pattinson, Jennifer Lawrence, and it was saying this and it was saying that. It was like, okay, this movie's doing this and it's doing that. And it's not like Mother, where she played something and the baby was Mother Earth. And I was like, what? Even when you say that to me, I still don't see it in the film. I don't see how they got there in the film. This film, Bugonia, is very much on the nose. And it's very much of look up, look up, look up. What? Too late. And it's already too late. And a lot of people's calculations. Now, a lot of that could be for a bunch of different reasons in this world, but the bees are dying. That is a fact. That's a scientific fact. Well, are we doing anything about it? Not really. Some people are. The person who I rent an apartment from has land. He has bees. He's doing something. I did something when I lived with my dad to make sure that I planted stuff, and there were bees all over the place. My friend Chad, the guy who does our music, he's got plants we call them pollinators. Hey, pollinators, when we see them, but are people really doing stuff? No, they're not. When we find out that Jesse Plemons is right, okay, I don't think it's a bait and switch. I think it's there the whole entire time. There's obvious things being told to us by scientists, and we're debating whether or not scientists are right or wrong. We're people who don't know a thing about science are debating whether or not they're right or wrong. So when it's too late, it's too late. And some people think it's too late already. So are we going to do anything about it? No. We don't seem to be doing anything about it. So it's not necessarily a bait and switch, because it is what is happening. This is what we're doing. And she talks about that later on in the film, about how we have a flaw in our DNA and they try to work it out. And that's why Alicia Silverstone, who must be another Yorgos Lanthimos actor that he really likes, because this is the second one that she's been in so far.
Oh, is it? What was she in?
Killing of a Sacred Deer. She plays his mother. In that very awkward dinner scene where they eat spaghetti. It's so bizarre. And she might be in something else too. Anyway, so the whole purpose to Emma Stone's character is to come back and rectify a problem that they basically started.
But see, her character gets wrapped up in the material world.
To be seen that way because you're openly hiding. Who would ever point their finger at her and accuse her of being something that she's not when she's.
People think Elon Musk is an alien. I mean, rich leader of a bunch of companies, who
talks like an automaton.
Yeah, no. But I mean, if she wanted to go underneath the radar, I wouldn't be the head of some huge company.
But that's the point, though. Plain sight. In plain sight. And the opposite of what she's really trying to do. And she's covering up her tracks by making money. She's playing both sides of the coin. She's making money off of this corporation that is supposedly ruining the earth to fund the experimental things to see if they can get this problem, which Alicia Silverstone has suffered from, out of the DNA of human beings. So she's hiding in plain sight. I think it's kind of brilliant.
But I think Alicia Silverstone a drug addict, and they gave her some medication that ended up causing her to become catatonic.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. But it had something to do with they were trying to reverse whatever this mistake in our DNA was.
Okay. I thought they were supposed to be giving her medication, quote unquote, to make her not be an addict.
Yeah, they were.
Because not everybody is an addict in the same way that her character was an addict.
Correct.
So, but you're saying that was
medicine
just
made her sick and put her into a coma, and she's dying because of it.
And then, so what's Emma Stone's company trying to do?
Trying to rectify the problem, because they planted us here on this earth. Those people, whoever wherever
the yarn people.
Yarn.
I'm fine calling him that. I don't.
But it was like plastic, or like it wasn't.
No, it was their hair. The more hair they have, the more they can communicate. That's what I got from it.
Right. But
so they just have more hair around them so they can communicate the most.
Yeah, but when they did,
it's like Mr. T, with all the with all the necklaces.
Where are you
at? It makes him stronger.
Where are you at? I'm the one on pain medicine and you're the one acting like a goofball. Where are you at? Okay, I love how you're not overly critical, but when a film doesn't work for you, your cynicism and your
it does. He's such a good filmmaker. I'm kind of like, to me, I'm just like, what? And you're right. It connected with you. I'm not trying to take anything away from what it did to you. So that's
no. I'm not saying that when you are.
But for me, like I do like being a little pokey. Yeah,
a little. No, you know what? The questions you have are valid questions, and I see where you're coming from. And then I'm not sure I'm articulating exactly how I feel about it, which is, I'm not trying to convince you of anything. This is the experience that you had. And I have this ability to see both sides. So when you start speaking, you start going, why and what? And I go, okay, I see how you saw it that way. It's kind of a frustrating analytical thing I've got going on, because I could hear the beauty in the music, but then when somebody doesn't like it, I can also hear how they don't like it. It's a really weird thing. It doesn't stop me from loving what I love.
See, that's great, because it's hard for me to like switch. Once you see something, it's like once you see something in the background of a scene or whatever, the whatever it is, the coffee cup and the in the
sure
in the Game of Thrones. I don't even watch Game of Thrones.
Yeah.
But like once you see that, you can't not see it. So
right.
Like that's the kind of stuff for me. And just working in television, like there's all the things that I'm responsible for. So if I can quickly hone in on something, especially something visual, I can just hone in on it and be like, well, it doesn't matter what's going on, who's saying what. That's a problem and needs to be fixed.
And that's why you're on that side of the camera. And this is why I'm on the other side of the camera, because our brains work differently. But I could see why you would question this film, and I could see why you would say it was a bait and switch, but I'm actually a little surprised you're having as much of an issue with it as you are, because you loved Kinds of Kindness, right? You thought it was, and I did not.
I think it wasn't as serious. This movie seems very serious to me.
Well, it's serious topics, dude.
I know, but
we're flawed human beings, and we're not looking at our own mistakes and I'm not trying to at all get on my soapbox, because I can do that. Let me stand taller since I'm up there. It's a serious subject. It's a serious thing that we don't take care of the planet. It's a serious thing that people think that we have a flat Earth in 2025. It's a serious thing that people make.
But in this movie, the Earth was flat. Do you remember when she poked the bubble?
Yes.
Unless that was a fake, jokey representation of the Earth. I don't know.
No, I think the Earth is flat in this film, but that's
what is that? What is
because
that mean?
Ours isn't, and people think that it is, and it's silly to think that it is.
Yes, but that Earth was not was not a sphere. I don't. Is it an allegory from like we're Earth 616 and this is Earth 2245 or something? Like Marvel Comics or something? I don't.
No, I don't think so. I think it's that Earth for this movie, and in this movie, it's a flat Earth. But it's supposed to be. I think it's ironic that people
like he was right about everything.
Pretty much.
Yeah. Okay.
Pretty much, and nobody listened, and they made him crazy, and they made him the one who, when he tried to do something about it, he was the character that was.
He was the crackpot.
He was the crackpot. He was no one wants to listen to his theories. No one wants to, and we should have seen some of it coming, because it's in Emma Stone's performance, by the way. And if she gets nominated for an Oscar, I will be all about it, because there's a subtlety in her performance. First of all, she's so precise and she makes such great choices. So does Jesse Plemons. But on some level, I think Jesse Plemons, and I would would have no idea, but that seems to be something you can cling on to, the ticks and ways of somebody who is an outcast who doesn't look like he bathes ever. And I'm like, dude, clean your yard up. Okay. Paint your house. Okay, come on. What are you doing? You got this great house. But instead of listening to somebody like him because he has off-centered ideas, we made him the crazy one, when in turn he ended up being correct. So I think it's a simple thing. If the earth is warming and the oceans are rising, we are in trouble in less than 100 years. Those are scientific facts that some people are saying are made up. And the issue with that is that, first of all, why would anybody make that up? What would be the reason? To sell energy efficient light bulbs? Because that's what some people think. Or to not be able to do something, or to not drill oil in the ocean because we're making up that it'll disturb the natural habitat, when we have seen that it does. And so it's always, whenever anybody goes out on a Greenpeace boat, they're a tree hugger freak who is out there wasting their time because it's a conspiracy that the earth is warming. Scientists don't know what they're talking about. They're trying to make the people who are logically studying what they've studied the people who are the freaks. And what if they're right? And they are right about the bees. The bees are disappearing. That's a fact. And why would anybody make that up to begin with? What would be the reason why? There are lands and coastlines that the bees have disappeared from, and the flowers and the plants disappeared too. And now those coastlines look completely different than they did 20 years ago. But if I was to stand out there 20 years ago and go, hey, all the bees are dying, you just got to stop doing that because of the pesticides. Oh, freak, oh, tree hugger. And ended up being right. So maybe there is no hope for us. And maybe the fact that in this movie, there is no hope for us. She gives up. She goes, okay, we're done. I'm done. It's not going to happen. And first of all, this is based on another movie. This is a remake. Yep. So this is that guy's idea, not Yorgos Lanthimos' idea.
Yeah, he didn't even write the script. So yeah, no. In fact, in the Q&A that I watched, it was Yorgos Lanthimos, Emma Stone, Jesse Plemons, and the adapter, the writer of the movie who adapted the screenplay, Will Tracy. And that guy was a super downer. Like, he just wanted to have nothing. Like, he just was, he had zero affection for like anyone.
Shocker.
Yeah.
That's exactly what this. Okay, so where's the joy and hope in Dogtooth?
Well, so Dogtooth to me, it's not saying that like we're all wrong and have no hope. It's saying this is what goes wrong when you try to isolate your children.
Okay.
They're taking something to an extreme, and they're saying, guess what? What you're doing is actually actively hurting your family, and that's not right. And it is calling people out to a certain extent, but it's calling them out by saying like, oh, you don't want your kid to go out past 8 p.m. Well, I'm not going to say you're crazy for that, but this guy has to bring in random people to introduce his son to, sexual intercourse. And it's like, what are you doing?
It's right. That isn't even the weirdest part about that. What happens later on is the weirdest part about that. And okay, so where's the joy and hope in the killing of a sacred deer?
I didn't connect with that one as much. That was definitely a head scratcher to me.
Okay, so where is, and I don't mean to sound adversarial.
No. I know where you're going.
I'm trying to get to the point of, so is it that so where is the hope and joy in Kinds of Kindness? They boot her out. She's done.
But there's segments to Kinds of Kindness.
Ostracize her because of a silly, stupid choice that makes no sense at all to any other human being except for somebody who wants to be part of that cult. And then she ends up murdering an innocent person.
Yeah, you're talking about one of the three stories of there, though. Like
sure.
that's to me, like those are small vignettes that they can be interpreted in different ways. This movie to me doesn't seem like it can really be interpreted in very many ways.
Okay, so a question. Is it the fact that there is no hope in this film? Not everything ends happily ever after. As a matter of fact, but you seem like the kind of person who would be celebrating the fact that some people lose hope, and I'm not saying you're celebrating people losing hope, but just like you talked about the last play that I was in, it posed a lot of questions but didn't answer any. We had to do all of the answering of the questions that we had on our own, which is, by the way, one of the biggest compliments that we've gotten from doing that show. So thank you. And also people bring it up all the time. So what did you think? What do you think happened? They published it. I know that's what happened. Anyway, So
have you seen House of Dynamite?
No, I want to though.
All right. That informs this discussion. But but I think that for me, I don't need every movie to end on a high note. I don't need it to be everybody lives happily ever after. In fact, you're right. The movies that do take on realistic endings. That's the problem. This movie's not realistic. It's not supposed to be realistic. Yes, maybe we are going to ruin our society with polluting our world or with creating generative AI and then making ourselves extinct. Or I don't really know, but it doesn't seem like this movie is necessarily giving us any solutions. It's just saying, hey guys, guess what? We're screwed. Have a good night.
Yeah, but I don't think that that's the movie's responsibility to give anybody hope. If that's the story they wanted to tell, I mean, it's like, why did they change the grim fairy tales or the grim tales into fairy tales? I mean, the evil stepsisters get their eyes pecked out at the end of that story by the birds. They leave that part out of Cinderella. They leave it out. They leave things out. There's a ton of things that they've left out of those stories. Why did we change those? To give hope, to tell these stories to younger people so they understood the moral of the story and understood, be kind to people who have less than you have, because in the end, you're going to suffer if you don't. I don't mean suffer physically, but your life is not as enriched, welcoming the foreigner. Listen, everything Christ ever said, we should follow, because what he said is truly great.
It is.
But the meek don't inherit the earth. The meek have not so far inherit the earth. And the less humble you are, the more you seem to gain in this world. And so for somebody to live in 2025 or to grow up in the last 25 years or to grow up in the last century, any part of this last century, maybe there is no hope for us. Maybe there is a flaw in our DNA. And in this movie, there is. So you can't say realistic or not realistic, because this is not the real world. First of all, we've talked about this a million times. It's a film. It's a play. It's a piece of music. It's not real world. It's supposed to represent how somebody felt about a subject matter. And what we extract from that tells us how we feel about, for me, tells us how.
That's what Eddington did. That's exactly what Eddington did.
You see, I'm profoundly interested in the fact that Eddington and Kinds of Kindness are the examples of what are right, when this is an example of what doesn't work for you. How did Eddington, first of all, with its 20,000 themes and its 20,000 subplots and characters, how did that leave you with any sense of anything? Other than a bunch of questions that we have asked ourselves for the last 20 years, what's going on?
It goes back to Dogtooth, and it's like, okay, here's a story. Here's these people in a situation very similar to our situation. Here's what they decided to do. Here's what happened. Here's what could happen. Here's what's going to happen. But the hope there is like, we don't have to do that. Whereas in this movie, it's just kind of like, well,
yeah, but the hope comes from us.
It's already happened.
But the hope comes from us, real human beings who are watching this, who don't let that happen. Because let's say this scenario is happening, that aliens did put us on this earth. And I mean, halfway through the film, I went, ancient aliens. And I was kidding. But it seems to be the answer for quite a bit. When I went to Mexico and I was at the Mayan ruins, they were like, blah, blah, blah. And I was like, ancient aliens. And some people believe that. Some people believe that. And sometimes when you watch that show, the first 15 minutes, you're like, no way. The second 15 minutes, you're like, The third 15 minutes, you're like, maybe. And then by the end, you're like, it's definitely ancient aliens. It's definitely them. So maybe the movie has no hope, so we can continue to recognize that we have hope, and in humanity, we will find the best, and we will rise above the situations that we're in particular right now in this world, because a lot of people feel hopeless with everything going on in the world right now, which is...
Well, I don't want them to watch Bugonia because it's going to make them like go jump off a cliff or something.
Well, no, I don't know about that. I think that sometimes it's like hyperactive drugs that they give to younger people, ADHD. They give them Ritalin, which is hyperactive components.
It puts them over the edge.
Yeah,
of
and it evens them out.
Yeah.
Because they're already spazzing out. They give it. It's like one of the best gas upset cures that I've ever seen is take a spoonful. And I'm not recommending any of this to anybody. Okay, so don't.
We are not medical professionals.
Listen. Don't do anything I'm doing without doing your own research. And I'm not recommending anybody take Ritalin or take apple cider vinegar. But you take apple cider vinegar.
But no, this is actually a good way for us to launch our new podcast. We're gonna tell people exactly all of our conspiracy theories, and then we're just gonna like let it all hang loose. Not in this podcast, of course, but in another podcast probably.
Well, you're gonna have to find somebody else because I don't really believe in conspiracy theories.
I don't either.
I don't see. I see the truth that rings true to me.
Yeah.
But if you take a spoonful of apple cider vinegar and you swallow that, it's harsh, but it settles down the acid in your stomach. You're taking an acid derivative chemical, if that makes sense, and you're putting it on top of your acid in your stomach. You would think that would exasperate the problem, but it doesn't. It squashes the problem. So sometimes you need a taste of your own medicine. So maybe the no hope in this film is actually going to counteract people having no hope in real life. I think it's okay to say there's no hope because there are people out there who believe that. There are people out there who are 100% not hopeful for the future. People stop having kids. That's happening now. People don't see a future. The young people, 20-some-year-old, they don't see a house. They don't see a car paid off. They don't see medical bills paid off. They don't see any of this stuff. So they don't have any hope. And I think this film's showing us exactly the flaws that make us human beings without hope. Does the opposite for me. It actually makes me want to bring joy and put out joy and bring happiness and positivity to the world. And I'm not Mr. Happy-go-lucky positive all the time. Trust me. Today at work, I was like, get off my yard. So I find it very interesting. I think it says more about you as a human being. I think that shows that you are a really good human being who cares about humanity and who cares about the world. And so the lack of hope and there is no hope at the end of this film affected you to the point where you don't think this was as good of a film as it could possibly be.
Yeah.
That probably would light up Yorgos Lanthimos that's the reaction that you had, because you're not saying you're giving up hope from seeing this film. You're saying that there is no hope in this film. That leaves you with a feeling you're not comfortable with. That makes you a better human being than those people in that film. And I'm pointing up at the movie screen in my house, by the way. So you know what I'm saying? Like, yeah. I think it's hopeful that you're bothered by the lack of hope. I thought it was satisfying. It was satisfying, and I don't want to be cynical, and I don't want to be, but I was like, be careful what you wish for. I mean, that sounds completely opposite of trying to be positive and bring joy to the world. But sometimes be careful what you do. It will come back to you. And so maybe if we don't work this out and we don't figure it out in the film, in the movie, with these fictional characters in a fictional situation, maybe that's like, okay. And if we were, I mean, isn't it exactly what they did in Prometheus? Didn't the makers come back to try to destroy us? That's why they created the alien to begin with.
Well, you're saying in the beginning, are you talking about the alien? Okay. Yeah.
Yeah.
I thought you were talking about the very beginning. Yeah. They created life.
Correct. But why did they create the aliens? Because we were messing up life.
Oh, okay. Yeah.
So they were like, get rid of them. Right.
I mean, that's the other thing, is that like it didn't matter that the aliens had kind of failed to figure out how to fix the humans, therefore they gave up. So the humans didn't really. So the humans had a flaw. They didn't know they had a flaw, and they lived with this flaw. The humans didn't have any control over whether that flaw got fixed or not, because the aliens were trying to fix it, and then the aliens decided to kill all the humans
because the humans are trying to kill them.
But at what point did the humans have any agency?
Well,
I don't know.
Yeah, good question. I don't know either. I don't. When they were told the bees were dying, and people went, "No, they're not."
Yeah, and they're like, "You
pick up your trash in the 70s."
Yeah, you have the ability to not, to not ruin your planet. So
yeah, go to school, read a book. And no, I'm not going to read. I'm going to play a video game instead. Now, listen, I'm not judging anybody because this is the world we live in, but there are 1,000 things that we're told every day that would make us better as human beings, and we don't do it. And we do the polar opposite of it. And then when the consequence happens, they go, "Oh, I had no idea." Yeah, you were told about diabetes and that your feet were going to get cut off. You were told. God, I sound so severe. But I mean, for real, like, think about it. I mean, and knock on wood, that none of that stuff happens to anybody that I know, or anybody really. I hope they find complete cures for all that stuff. But without cancer, we wouldn't need a cure. So we wouldn't come to fund children's hospitals to get people to help cure their children of cancer for free. So without a destructive thing that is nothing but destruction, well, actually, it's the opposite. It's production, which becomes destructive.
Yeah.
I read. But without that wouldn't come the hope in human beings gathering together and deciding that, hey, there should be a place where people can go and not have to pay anything. And then the parents can come and stay at the hotel, or, the Ronald McDonald's house. All of those things. Without the pain, without the struggle, we would not see the best in us, because the aliens decided that the creatures that they created, I mean, you know the Old Testament. Come on now.
No,
God went,
yes.
No, ba-boom, flood.
Yeah,
God went, no. You can spend your life getting the Israelites out of, bring him to the promised land, but you got angry for a split second, so Moses,
therefore you
stay.
Can't go in.
No, bye-bye.
So Joshua goes in instead of Moses.
Yeah, waving at him, bye-bye.
Yeah.
And don't turn.
Aaron, my bad.
Yeah,
jeez, Aaron.
You name it. The names go around. Yeah. I mean, Sodom and Gomorrah, don't turn around. You'll become a pillar of salt. I mean, just out of curiosity, bam, you're a pillar of salt. So, I mean,
I get it. But then also
in our world are destructive too.
But there was in the Old Testament, there were people who were smited by God, but they had agency to choose one way or the other, and they knew the outcomes, the potential outcomes. Whereas this is a little bit more wide open in this scenario, and they weren't even playing with a full deck of cards in this movie, because they didn't know that there were aliens that were telling them not to do stuff.
Yeah, but what if your agency tells you, I'm going to ignore it? How many things did Noah say before people wanted to beat him up because they thought he was crazy? It's coming, stop, it's coming. And then he was like, okay, I'm being told to do this, bye. And they're like, wait, what? We didn't really believe you. So they had agency, they just didn't utilize it. They had the choice, they just chose to not do anything. Yeah. So
yeah, okay. Yeah, I understand, yeah.
So the aliens in this film, the hair people, they actually admit to making that they created a creature with a flaw. Mm-hmm. But sort of like, if you want to look at the creation story, that's sort of what happened too. I mean, we were given free will, so that to some people might be a flaw. Have
you seen Pluribus?
No.
Oh, actually, I think it just came out this weekend on Apple TV, and it's about I guess it was some sort of like an RNA sequence that gets beamed in from 600 light years away, and somehow it infects most of the world, and each of the people in the world are now all connected. Like, imagine the internet, like a chat room with the internet, and everybody's talking at all times. So like any person you run across, like walking down the street, knows how to fly a plane, or knows how to do open heart surgery, or knows how to, shoot a 3-pointer,
Like the Matrix.
Yeah. Well, yeah. But they know all of it all at once forever. And Michael Jordan, his experiences are now in the body of an 8-year-old. It's that kind of a thing. And so there's a handful of people, 11 people, or 12 people, I guess, so far after the first 2 episodes, that were not affected. They were incident to this RNA sequence, but they were not affected by it, and they still have their whole agency. They are their own person. Now, there's this interaction. It really does give rise to. This is Vince Gilligan who did this. So Breaking Bad, Better Call Saul.
Yeah, what's her name's in it?
Yeah, and I never saw Better Call Saul, so I don't really know.
She's so great.
She's really good in Pluribus, too.
She's so good.
She's very good in Pluribus.
Yeah. Ree
she has an
Seaburn,
edge.
I think.
Yeah, Ray Seaberg. Yeah.
Ray.
But anyway, yeah. So anyway, it lives in this same stew of like what is agents. At what point if you did decide to become a part of this, if there was a way to choose to be a part of this, all these other people didn't choose to be a part of it. They're just a part of it, and they're just all connected, and that is what it is. But they don't have the ability to get out of that, and they didn't have the choice to join it, whereas Ray Seaberg does. So, or will potentially, but she's fighting against it, whereas there's other people in the show that aren't. They're like, I totally want this to happen because my son is part of this, and it's like, that's not your son. That's every single person in the world except for us 11 people.
That sounds like torture. I would hate that.
Yeah. She's one of the only people in the world in this scenario that has agency, that has the ability to make a choice and to own her own life.
But there are 1,000 stories, including many in the Bible, where people made the wrong choice and God was like, boop, the day the earth stood still. Boop. You guys have made the wrong choice. You are destroying this planet. We're here to save the planet. Wait, what?
By killing you, yes.
Yeah. Wait, you didn't say us. No, I didn't, because I'm not here to save you. I'm here to save the planet because you have made the wrong choice. Because sometimes choice is, yes, I believe everybody should have choice, but people make the wrong choices all the time, and people make choices by not making choices all the time. So when in doubt, smite. Boom, gone. I mean, it happens how many times? I mean,
it's a lot. It's a lot.
It's a
in the
whole
Old Testament.
lot.
Yeah.
It's a whole lot. And in a way, it's kind of like start, restart. It's kind of like turning your computer off when your program is not working the correct way, or turning your Christmas tree lights off and turning them back on, and hopefully they'll work again, and they work right. And a lot of times they do just by turning them off. Why? I don't know. You're going to have to spend some time explaining that to me. But
so I think that's what they're planning on doing is starting over, in this movie. They're in Bugonia.
Maybe there's not an answer to that. Maybe the answer is not whether or not we have agency or whether or not we have hope. The answer is we had hope. We have hope. We have choices. We have agencies, and we're still ignoring lots of things that will destroy us. I'm not saying we are. I'm saying in this film, we are. There's a lot of contradictive things that happen in this film. I get that. And by the way, side note, I need to say one more thing about Emma Stone's character. Gosh, she's so good. That's talent. That's acting. The choices that she makes in the beginning of the film, once you know what the twist is, are very interesting. There's just a brief pause when she touches her hair, that you've seen that scene in the trailer too. What did you do to my hair? What? There's a split second of, and I think it's her as a character.
Is it panic?
No, not panic.
Oh, okay.
Training. What if I get caught? What if I do this? What if I'm going to have, I can't tell them there's a mothership. So I can't blink when somebody says there's a mothership. So there's training that went into being on this planet, and you can see the training kick in. At least that's what I interpreted what was going on. And I think she's that brilliant of an actress that her subtext was that. But the moment that I thought I was like, oh, she's going to get another Oscar nomination, and she's going to be a contender too if she does, is when she doesn't leave. Once she escapes, she doesn't leave. She starts searching, which we mentioned earlier in the podcast. She starts searching. And when she comes to the stairs and he's got the gun in her hand and she goes, how many? I was like, wait, what? You still don't know as an audience member. I
still wasn't,
Yeah. But I was like, why is she standing? She's not afraid of him at all. Why is she? How many? What? And the way that she does it is so precise. I can't use another term. That when you know the plot twist, it's the best choice an actress could have made in that moment. I don't know how to describe it other than that. But when she turns to him, she goes, how many? How many? And he goes, 2.
Andromedans, yeah.
Andromedans, right? Which is oft used term.
Well, it's the closest galaxy. To our galaxy. Yeah.
So I think it says a lot about you as a human being that you think this movie lacks hope. That means that you need hope, or that you wish for hope, and that you live your life trying to see the best in people, and that you think people should be given the benefit of the doubt. This is my interpretation, not anything that you said.
I'll take it.
Yeah, and I think that's you live what you believe, and that's a profound thing to be a friend of. So thank you for that. And also, it says there's integrity to that. You have a belief, you live by your belief. You don't espouse your belief, you don't tell people, you don't judge people. I'm sure you do on some level, because you're a human being.
Exactly, yeah.
Yeah, you just do. I mean, it's just the way it is. But most of your judgments, if I could call them that, are about how you don't want to be as a human being. Not that person's a bad person because they're doing it. You don't want to choose that because that's not the life you want. So you're going to live your life like that. So that's a hopeful thing. And the fact that you don't see hope in this movie, actually, it's a really touching thing. Because, and that sounds weird, right? But because you do have hope, and you do think that we can be the better parts of ourselves. I think Yorgos Lanthimos would like your opinion about this movie more so than most people's, because you got something out of it. I don't know if he was expecting for people to get out of it, because it's not anywhere I thought you were going to go. But the other strange thing, and this is, we can put me on the couch later on and, try to figure out what's going on up here. But I felt none of that. I felt like, yep, oh well. You tried. Bye.
Oh, wow.
I needed the movie to end exactly how it ended, because people sometimes need to see the possibilities of their bad choices before they make their bad choices. So maybe you don't give up hope, and maybe you do not make those bad choices, all of which I don't live by on a regular basis. I'm not saying I'm better than anybody else. I'm just saying.
It makes me wonder if that's what people felt like this walking out of Dr. Strangelove in 1964,
possibly
because they were living in it.
Yeah.
And it's when I saw it in the late 90s, it was, this had been established. There was the Cold War was there wasn't a Cold War in 1999, but it was a different, nuclear war is still a specter on our world, but it was just a different thing than it was in 1964.
That's a perfect example. But in order to not drop the bomb in real life, we have to drop the bomb in a film.
Yeah.
Which shows no hope. That means there's no hope in humanity, that you're going to have to destroy this planet with nuclear devastation. There's no hope in that. You're not, to the people who are living in the bunkers.
And the rich people are going to end up in a bunker.
That's all right. They're going to, they don't know how to sacrifice. They're going to end up annihilating themselves too.
That's probably true. Yeah.
Yeah. Bye. Oh, that's so bad.
All right. On that note,
so bad.
I do want to end it on a really good note on my end, because I think that Jerskin Fendrix's score was amazing, and it was bombastic, and it was chaotic, and it was just, we've had some really good scores this year, really good scores this year. I feel bad Forever has to make a decision on what's going to win the Oscar. Cause like, oh my gosh, but this is, it's chaotic, and it works really well with representing the emotions, especially like the Jesse Plemons character's emotions, like in some of the, when he's riding his bike to his mom's hospital room. Oh my gosh. Wow.
So good.
Yeah.
So good.
Well, you can check us out on the web at actorandengineer.com. You go to facebook.com/actor-and-engineer, and we are on YouTube. Just search for the Actor and the Engineer podcast. And we'll see you next time.